That is the Skalkaho Highway, where we've been several times before, many times before. And this is Forest Service Road 714, Gird Point Road, where we've stopped before, but this time we're going to go in. And it's a little bit past 6 o'clock on a Friday night. It's late June, so I don't have a lot of time, but I have enough time to walk in a little bit. So we have a piece of heavy equipment here, and I've noticed that every time I've come by here, so I think it's just stationed here. And I don't know what specifically it's for. It could be for normal road grooming, but also you do see this. So this could be parked here as a staging point for firefighting. Number of options. And there's some other equipment there as well. If I remember correctly, right after the entrance, there's a part where the road takes a steep curve. I rode pretty briskly to get here, so here I'm kind of stretching my legs out and just walking my bicycle. Well, that's a bit of effort because I'm pushing it up. I might do some more riding once we get past this turn, but I'm going to quickly reach a place where I'm going to lock my bike and walk this direction. Tried to ride a little bit, but the road is pretty gravelly and hard to ride in. You can also see how far we've come already above the Skalkaho Road, and still steep for a while. So I'm just going to relax and keep walking. We have some shade, and maybe a better road. And if you look over there, you can see that's where it climbs to. And it keeps climbing. It goes from about 12 miles from this point, maybe a little bit more. But I'm not going that far today. What I'm planning to do is when I walk to the end of this little canyon, there's a foot trail, I think an unofficial foot trail. Just going to walk along that for a while. This is where the road turns, and this is the trail, such as it is. No idea if this is even a maintained trail or if this is just enough people have walked here. There's no signs. I'm going to follow it for a little while though. I locked my bicycle to a tree, even though that's probably totally unnecessary. I don't think anybody's going to drive up that road and even go on this path. If they did, they're probably not looking for bicycles to steal. It kind of helps me as I go along, because without that, it's like this little gnawing thing at the back of my mind. What if, what if, what if? So I basically do that to shut up my own mind. Also, after 12 years, I'm happy that I can remember this path with here. Don't remember exactly where it goes or how far it goes, but I remember that it's here. Is that a gate? Maybe I should have just walked my bike a little further and lock it to that. One other thing, the sapphires, especially in this area, are a lot different terrain and ecosystem than the bitterroots, in that they're this bare ponderosa pine forest, open woodland. But if you see right here in this little canyon, which sometimes has a rivulet and sometimes actually is full of water, we have a little sheltered, shadowed place that probably has, water more of the year. So we actually have, nice, shady, nice place to walk. That also lets me know that this is a maintained trail. Please close the gate. I think I actually will close the gate. Maybe that only means close the gate if it's not closed already. Oh, actually, yeah, there we go. I'm assuming that's the right thing to do. Oh, just going to continue to walk along this way. And I forgot what's past here. Sometimes fun to forget like that. So like I was saying, in a shaded place like this, we have what looks to be thimbleberry or salmonberry and raspberry. So not plants of an open ponderosa woodland, even though it's right over there. We have our own little mini ecosystem here in the sapphires. So I can hear the creek down there. And it's interesting because I don't know where that creek goes, because further down I can't hear it. It might disappear underground, or it might have a tunnel. Another thing to say about that is this is late in June, and it's been a kind of hot year, not a lot of snowpack. So you can see how green this is now, like getting to summer. Imagine what this would look like in, you know, May, a month ago, or even in April, right after the snow has melted, and how lush and wet this would be. Be a nice place to visit. Oh, look, the water is actually on the path. It did rain a couple days ago, so maybe that's why it's doing this right now. So right here we have a swamp in the middle of an arid open woodland. I like the diversity that I can find here. Oh, and there we have a lot of salmonberry, or thimbleberry. I forgot the difference. Here's another thing I found surprising and is a sign of how relatively moist this place is. We have some type of bracket fungus growing here, and compared to Oregon, Washington, there's a lot less fungus here growing, obviously. And one of the other interesting things about this is I don't actually remember this. Like, I went up this trail at some point in 2010, 2011, and I don't remember it looking quite like this. And I don't know whether that's because I've forgotten or microclimates can change. And in a dozen years, maybe there had been a forest fire or something, or a windfall, and it was different. And so this stuff took a while to regrow. Or maybe I just don't remember. Every time you explore, you're seeing something new all over again. As you can see, we've gotten closer to this open part. And right ahead we have a meadow, and I think I do remember that meadow from years ago. So when I reach that, I might keep going, or I might turn around. It depends on what's ahead. A lot of lupine in this meadow. There was a lot on the trail. I think I said that was in the Sawtooth Creek video. Yeah, you can find that from the seaside to the mountaintops, from Fairbanks to Tierra del Fuego, probably. This could go for a while, which I don't object to. One of my goals, or maybe closer to a notion, was to keep climbing until I reached a ridge where I could look down into the valley. One of the things about that is that, like, sometimes it seems like, oh yeah, I could scramble up that hillside in like 5 minutes. And two problems is, a lot of times those 5 minutes are a half an hour. And then a lot of times you scramble up and you're like, oh, this is not really a ridge. This is just a sub-ridge and I have to go further. So basically I'm going as far as I want to go, then turning around. In the center of this meadow, this is the water course. And I'm guessing it's at least somewhat artificial, because that certainly looks like a plastic pipe right there. Be interesting to know what's going on here. One thing I talked about in a lot of the Bitterroot trails is, compared to national park trails, they're very minimalistic. But at least they do have signs. And here in the Sapphires, you know, the still Bitterroot National Forest, but doesn't really have the same sweeping views. And so it's not quite as popular. And so, like, there's nothing, there's no hand holding, there's no signs. The last sign I saw was "Please close the gate," and I've just been following this diminishing trail up this little canyon or valley or meadow, and I like that. I mean, I really do feel I am out there. I will probably turn around in a few minutes. So I could keep going, and eventually we might actually climb and reach the top of one of those hills. But for now, as is often my rule, it's not how much further I can go, it's how much further I can go and go back. And we are starting to get into some shadows. So I'm going to walk back that way, and this also lets us see how far we've come. And as often the case, it'll be interesting to see, is the walk down going to be shorter or longer than the walk up? Right here we have the trail returning back down this way, and we have kind of like a tier or plateau here. And it looks like there might be some type of, actually that even looks like that could be a road or something. at least a surface road or something, or formerly was. But that's one of the things that, like, if I was coming back just a little bit later in twilight, you could miss that and walk along that and get lost. So a lot of times it's a good idea to head home earlier rather than later. Before I leave the Meadow part of the trail, one thing to mention is that this is late June. It's late on a Friday afternoon into early Friday evening. School's out, people are on vacation. So if there was ever a time for this trail to be busy, it would be right now. And I mean, somebody's here. I think people ride horses here, but I didn't see anybody. And so, like, if you want to find solitude, you really want to find something different. A lot of the places in the Sapphires have little trails like this, not marked, you know, just up a gravel road. And this is also fairly close in, like, and you could go further out into the Sapphires and you could find places that make this look like Times Square. There's another sign of it being a wetter climate. That's some type of maple. Not actually that familiar with those, like, less indented leaves. That might be the Rocky Mountain maple. And here we are back in the wooded forest zone. And when I get to the bottom of this, I'll just hop on my bicycle and it should be a lot easier to get back. So for people wanting to hike this route, especially if you're coming from, you know, town and you're driving into the, you know, trailhead down below, not a super vigorous or rough trail. You know, there is places where it's rocky, not really steep. The main thing is right now it looks shaded, but at certain times you could, like, really want to bring a lot of water. I guess that's good advice in general. So even though it's not marked and there's not, like, handheld holding and smoothing and stuff of the trail, this is definitely like a, you know, pretty easy trail if you're in Hamilton and want to, like, go somewhere natural, but not too natural. Well, there we are at the gate. So it wasn't too long on the way back. And it's shadowed here, but probably out on the road it will be totally light. At this point I still have almost 2 hours of sunlight before I get home. One thing I didn't get to talk about today was the geology and where we were inside of a, you know, this forested place. We didn't get to see a lot of these, like, really bare rock outcroppings. In other places, as we get off the trail, there's a lot of rocks to see, and the geology behind them is fascinating. But I guess how that relates to, like, the forests and the meadows and stuff is that the diversity in geology and biology is related, and it is very complicated. So if you're like a, you know, want to do a research project, you're a scientist, you can come here and you can, like, find a lot of things in a very small amount of space. Okay, and then my bicycle is locked. I have my bicycle ready. And one thing that made today's trip a little bit easier for me mentally is I didn't have a goal. You know, there's not like a destination or a name or something. It's just like, okay, I'm going to go up to Gird Point and I'm going to go see what's there. And I kind of remember a trail there. So, you know, because it didn't have, like, a name or something that I was trying to reach, it was just kind of like a pleasant stroll in the woods. Okay, I don't really think I need to say anything more as I start bicycling down this. I'm just going to go home. Yeah, there will be more things though.